Hey guys, what's up? This is Alina, and I know it's been like a while since we've seen each other, but hey, better late than never. This month is a Disability Pride Month. I don't know why it's not very popular, but I'm hoping by talking about it, we can bring more awareness to it. So on my Instagram, I let you ask me some questions about my disability or like a disability in general. So let's get started. Now I will answer them all. So the first question, have you ever felt frustrated having a disability? By the way, you're beautiful. Well, thank you. And yes, of course, I feel frustrated a lot of times, unfortunately, because sometimes you feel like you can do something, you have like the energy, like the inner energy, the emotional energy, and then your body just kind of lets you down, and I don't know, in like 2 minutes you're tired if you've been like walking or something, like okay, maybe not 2 minutes but like 10 minutes. So it really frustrates me sometimes, and sometimes it also frustrates me when I can't reach something, and like I'm going to a new place, for example, and then I'm like, oh, again, like some inaccessible place, some place where I need help, but in general, like I'm very used to it, and sometimes things happen, but in general, like I'm fine. How did your disability affected you as a child? Well, when I was a child, I didn't really realize I had a disability, and I didn't know, like I didn't understand what was all this fuss about. My mom would try to go to some doctors who might help me, and I'm like, I feel good, I feel fine, and I feel normal. Why everybody is like so worried? And when you're a child, and in my case, people wouldn't stare as much as now, because I was a child and I was small, so like what do you stare at? When I finally kind of realized that I differ from everybody in a major way, because we all are unique, okay? We all differ from everyone. I just couldn't believe that it was me, because again, in Russia, you don't really see disabled people on the streets and stuff, so I felt like very lonely in a way, and I couldn't understand why it was me, and I couldn't believe in a way that like out of all the people, I was born like that. Have you faced medical discrimination in your life? Well, there were like some occasions, of course. For example, when I didn't have like my kind of personal OBGYN, and it would be like different people, not all the time, but like most of the times, because I like moved and stuff like that and didn't want to go far, and sometimes like they were so intrusive. They would like treat me as a child, ask about sexual partners, and they would be weird about it, they would get weird about it. And also they could have asked something like in front of people, and I'm like, that's confidential, that's like a very personal information, and I do not want to yell in front of all the people, because obviously everybody is staring, and I'm like, this is personal. I don't want to, like, it's not a secret, it's not like something major or whatever, but I don't want to yell. One time it made me feel very, very bad. I just was stressed, and I started crying of the way that I was treated. Does your disability prevent you from having children? Well, I'm not sure why this question I see a lot. I don't know why everybody cares. I'm sorry. My disability does not prevent me from having children. Do you take any medication specifically for your disease? Well, first, I wouldn't call it disease. It's a condition, can like progress over time, but I don't think it's like a disease. I don't know. And no, I don't take any medications. Somebody says in Russian that there are no questions. You're very cool. Thank you. How you break the ice when people are staring at you like to gaff? I don't know what gap is, but when people stare at me, I stare back, and I don't really like break the ice or whatever. I mean, it kind of annoys me when they like really stare, and sometimes it can be like, if I'm really annoyed, I can be like, what freaking what. And of course children do it more often than adults. And only once in my life in Denmark, a mother came up to me with her daughter, and she was like, hey, my daughter is like really interested, like, can you tell her something like about yourself? And I was like, sure. And this is a very good approach. I mean, if you are interested, I mean, I know that I don't have like the obligation to teach and educate people, you know, like I'm a normal person and I mind my own business. But when people communicate it in such a way, of course I'm only happy to like explain and stuff and address it and educate. How to get a wheelchair in Russia and now when you're abroad? I got my wheelchair like a couple of years ago. Government sponsored it because I had the right, but we had to, like, to be honest with you, we had to like really work around the documents and stuff so I could get the wheelchair that fits me, like that is made by my measurements, because the wheelchair that I had before was like too big for me and it was really uncomfortable to use it and to be in it for a long time. We had to like work our ways around it, and I'm really grateful to people who could help me with that. Yeah, and I have my wheelchair, I don't need another one. I hope I didn't jinx it. But if something happens, I will have to, I don't know, pay for it to fix it or buy a new one. And that actually raises another topic that is very important but really often overlooked, that disabled people, like disability, is very freaking expensive. Like sometimes you have to spend money on things that you would have not spent if you didn't have a disability. And yes, there is disability check, and I guess every country has it, or nearly every country. In some ways it could help, but in like the majority countries it's not a lot of money, and you still need more, you know, to navigate life in best way. Were you born with club feet? My brother was, and he wears shoes like yours, custom made. Yes, I was born with club feet, but it was like really extreme, and I had a lot of surgeries during the first 4 years of my life to kind of straighten it more so I can at least walk, because my like nerves in my legs were functioning, were working, but with such club feet I wouldn't have been able to walk. I got a lot of surgeries and I'm grateful I can walk even a little bit, but it still helps so much. It was a pretty tough time. I don't remember much of it, but I think it was the toughest time for my mom, and she is really a hero. And she really got through this, and it was very difficult because also, mind you, it was 90s in Russia, and it was like a very struggling time for nearly everyone. There was like not enough food, not enough money, people weren't getting paid. There was a lot of things going on, and plus you give birth to a child who has a disability and need to undergo all the surgeries, so I cannot imagine how difficult it was. Can you explain your disability? Well, I can. I have dystrophic dysplasia, and it gives me a little small stature. I have difficulty to walk for long distances, and my joints are not right, so to say. A lot of people like me also have difficulties with hearing. I personally do not. I think I do not. I don't know. Can progress over time, like losing some movement, or ability to walk, or having joint pains. So far I'm fine, but it's important to remember that also my disability has like a lot of different forms and different degrees too, and everyone is pretty different who has the same condition as me. So, and it affects some people more, some people less. So it's a pretty interesting topic, I think. What education was available for your parents when you were younger? If you're talking about like education of raising a child who has a disability, I would say none, because it was rare that in a family, when you have a child with disability, to keep that child. The majority of disabled people were given away to orphanages, to special like disabled orphanages, and it wasn't even only by the desire of the family. The doctors who were in the hospital when the woman would give birth, and they would try to talk you into that, they would say, oh, it's so difficult, you gotta know a lot of things. You gotta know a lot of things, but where do you learn that? It's very hard to handle a child with disabilities, so it's better if you just give it away. That's how things were in the 90s in Russia, which is very freaking sad. I'm grateful my parents kept me, but yeah, what education? No, of course not. Are you in communication with anyone with the same disability? Well, I know a few people, and a few people, like some people are very nice. I've met also some people in real life in the Netherlands and in Spain, and it was pretty cool, like very relatable, we talked about some things. But for example, in the Netherlands, with the girl that I've met, I felt a little bit like kind of a competition vibe, which was very strange for me, because I was more about like supporting, and she would have asked a lot of questions, like, oh, can you do this, can you do that? If I told her like, yes, I can do this, I can tie my shoes, she'd be like kind of upset. I don't know. I understand it bothers her that she can do this, but what's my fault in that? I don't know why you'd be kind of angry with me about that. I don't know. And if I couldn't do something that she could, she would be like, haha. That's a little ridiculous, I think. But a lot of people are very supportive, and there is like an online community. And when I first found this online community, I was very shocked, because it was kind of seeing myself, kind of, but like not from my perspective, It was very strange. Yeah. Does Russia provide any financial assistance to citizens with disabilities or services? Yes, Russia does provide that, but sometimes it's like challenging. You have to get a lot of papers and stuff, and it's like hard, because if you're disabled, it's a little hard to move around most of the times. And public transportation in Russia, like the 90% of it is not accessible. A lot of places are not accessible either, so it's really hard to get all the like paperwork done sometimes, and the assistance isn't so great. There is like monthly allowance, which is very, very small, and if you cannot work, it will not be enough for sure. It will be barely enough for food, and I'm not even talking about fancy food, some nice food. No, just like bare minimum. Hope more people were as nice, adventurous, and educated as you are. No, here. Thank you. Why are you so awesome? I don't know. Is your condition genetic? Could it be inherited if you have children? Yes, my condition is genetic, and yes, it can be inherited to my children. My potential daddy of my kids has to also have the gene that has my disability programmed in it, and if he has it and I obviously have it, so it's 25% chance that my kid would have the same condition as me. Although the kid can have another disability, because a lot of the time people don't even know what they have in their genes, Not a question, but hi from Seattle. Hey, how do you cope with people staring at you? Usually, I'm really used to it. I don't even notice it. And when a person hangs out with me for the first time, for example, sometimes they say oh my god, how do you handle this? It makes me angry. Why people are staring at you so much? And I'm right. You're not used to it. You're about to. Actually, in Argentina, I don't feel it as much. So probably it's better here. But sometimes, it really bothers me. Sometimes I just wanna be incognito and not really attract any attention, because there are different days. Sometimes you just want to be invisible, but you cannot, because you have a disability and people are gonna stare regardless how you feel. Are you in any time kind of residual pain? No. Some people with my disability, they have a lot of pain in their joints, but I do not. I hope it will not happen anytime. I don't know, it could. I'm just hoping for the best, and living my life. I have to ask, we are adults after all, but is sex comfortable? Any compromise? Well, honey, there are no compromises. But yeah, it's comfortable. I mean, it depends. If a guy weighs 250 pounds, could be a little difficult, but I mean, I'm small, obviously, and I don't want to go too much into detail, but when there's a lot of weight pushing on you, it could be a little difficult, yeah. But other than that, yeah, I don't know, no difficulties, Where do you find your clothes, or do you make them by yourself? No, I do not make my clothes myself. I don't know how to do it, but I usually just buy anywhere, in all the stores available. I know what can fit me well. Sometimes I see some clothing item, and I'm like, dang, I really would have loved to wear it, but I know it will look ridiculous on me, or I will look like a bag of potatoes, a small bag of potatoes. Sometimes when I get clothes, I have to alter it a little bit. For example, sleeves, I have to cut them off, bring to the lady who sews. But other than that, yeah, that's it. Is there a name for your disability? Did your mom know before you were born? Yes, the name is dystrophic dysplasia, and my mom did not know. It was a complete surprise for her, and she was very sad, which really kind of hurts me, because come on, I was born, why were you sad? I mean, I understand it. Again, as I told earlier, it was a very difficult time in Russia in the 90s, but it makes me upset that my mom was shocked and sad when I was born. Does your disability in any way impact your life expectancy or ability to carry children? Well, I already talked about the children, but life expectancy, no. Actually, there was once a very funny story during the filming when Caleb decided to Google what's the average life expectancy of dwarves, and he found that it's if you Google it, it says 300 years, and we were laughing so much because, I mean, obviously it's different kind of dwarves, and he took a screenshot of it and he sent it to the camera guy with good news caption, and yeah, it was really funny. So guys, thank you so much for listening, for staying, for asking questions. I hope that was fun and interesting to you, and I hope you learned something new. And please bring more awareness to Disability Pride Month, because we are disabled and proud. Okay, baby. If you haven't yet subscribed to my Patreon, I post some extra things there, and something that I don't post to Instagram, so you can learn more about my life, or you can just support me. So thank you so much, and see you hopefully soon. Bye.